Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to talk you through your universal law of gravitation lab. The purpose of this lab is for you guys to investigate the relationship between mass, distance, and the force of attraction between two objects. First, before answering any other questions, please answer what is an independent variable, what is a dependent variable, and what is a control variable. Once done with those, I would like you guys to please open up your gravity simulation 1. Now notice, right, play around. What can you do here? Well, you can move the masses back and forth. You can change the size of the masses. Right? And notice what you have here. You have the force, right? The gravitational force between the masses. Notice that they are the same. The force that mass 1 feels on mass 2 is the same force that mass 2 feels on mass 1. Right? Move it closer, right? The distance gets closer, move it farther away, the distance gets further away. Again, you can change the masses of each one. Right? So first play around with that a little bit. Well, once you're done playing around with it, come to part 1 of your lab and answer these questions. So like number 1 says, how does changing the separation of the objects affect the force between them? Well, what happens to the force as I move them further away? Right? Oh, we notice that the force is decreasing. Right? What happens when you move them closer? The force increases. Right? That's what you guys want to do for 1 through 5. Play around with the lab and answer these questions. Once done with part 1, I would like you guys to open up your gravity simulation 2 for procedure 2. Notice again, what do we have here? Right, you can change the size of the masses. You can move your meter stick to measure the distance between them, right? You can move them. And you have the force up here. If you don't like seeing all these really big numbers, like these small numbers, you guys can click scientific notation and it will put it in scientific notation for you. So for part 2, you are going to identify 3 variables in this simulation. Right? What do you think the 3 variables are? Right? Well, we know we're dealing with mass. You're dealing with the distance between the objects. And you're dealing with the force due to gravity. Now, for number 2, what you guys are going to do is you're going to identify the control independent and dependent variables. Right? And I can tell you guys right now, during both of these experiments, the dependent variable is always going to be your force due to gravity. Your independent variable can be either the mass of one object, and then your control can be your force due to gravity. You're going to collect 10 data points, right? So in this case, we have the mass as the independent variable and the force, not force due to gravity. Our distance is going to be the control. So what does that mean? Well, we're going to keep the distance the same, right? So let me say we're going to keep them 4 meters apart, but I'm going to notice. So at 4 meters apart, and the way they are now, right, no change in mass, the force due to gravity is 7.88 times 10 to the negative 8 newtons. Well, now let me change the mass and maybe go from 70 to 100. Record your data. Now go from 100 to 130. record your data. Make sure you are increasing at a constant rate, right? You're increasing by 10s, by 5s, by 3s, whatever you would like, but make sure it is constant. And then you will fill that in on this data table below. You then will do that for part 2, but this time, right, your dependent variable is always going to be force due to gravity. This time you're switching and you're going to change the independent and the control. The independent now will be the distance between the objects. Your control now will be the mass. Well, what are you going to do now? You're going to come here. You are going to keep the masses, whatever they are, keep them the same. And now you may do this, right? Maybe bring it into where it's 2 meters apart. Record your force. Then you can bring it to 3 meters, 4 meters, 5 meters, 6, and so on and so on. Again, make sure you are increasing at a constant rate. Once you have all that done, you guys then have to use Google Sheets and graph your data points. Notice at the end of your experiment, right, it tells you what goes on the y-axis and what goes on the x-axis. Once you have completed that, you may go through and answer your analysis questions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure you guys are working through this lab. Make sure you are answering all the questions and you are taking your time while you do the data taking. Have a good day.